Right, Land Rover Discovery 3 and Discovery 4 rear brake upgrade. It actually is probably the same on the Range Rover Sport 2005 to 2012. So this is the standard brake setup you've got, and we're going to show you what we're doing. So it's what we've got. So you've got a brake disc here, but it's actually a brake drum as well. So you've got your handbrake shoes inside here, that's the electronic handbrake that operates there. You've got your brake caliper, you've got a vented disc. If you look from the top here, you can see this has got the little vents, so this is for cooling. And you've got your caliper. Now, we're going to upgrade these to drilled and groove brakes. And in this video, we're also going to strip this all down real time, no skipping anything. We're going to see how long it takes me to do. So if you get a bit bored later on, you could fast forward the video to the bit where you're stuck or want to look at. What else are we going to do? Right, so let's have a look. So what are we going to replace? We're going to replace everything on that rear brake other than the caliper and the slider. So we're going to put these new upgraded discs on. So point to note, when they come in a bag with left hand. So we've actually, so we put the L on there and the R on there. Why? Because if I put them both the same way, the little things, this one's as it goes in, that's going clockwise. As this one's going in, it's going anti-clockwise. Right, why do we want to fit grooved and vented discs? They give you better braking. These grooves help to clean the pads. The holes give you extra cooling and also extra cleaning on the pad. Someone said that they're lighter weight, which is, I think it's a bit of a big exaggeration, but you will save some weight. And as Ian pointed out before, it is on your rotating mass, so there is an extra benefit from that. Vented as well, but that's standard on the standard discs. So the grooves are on both sides. And then obviously this is the inner brake drum. So that's the upgrade. Right, we're going to put some upgraded brake pads in. Let me get it right so you can see. We're going for these EBC Ultimax 2 brake pads. They look a good job. Nothing upgraded about the handbrake shoes, but it's nice. We've got all new clips, new springs.
We're just going to give that a refresh, basically.
That's
going to have more of an effect than the new.
There's no point in upgrading. Why would you need a better handbrake? We don't get that. I mean, if you're towing, if you do a lot of towing, the upgraded brake discs are good. They're not that much more expensive, so we're going to do that. And at the same time, we're fitting the new wear sensor on the pads, which is a fairly good standard practice to do. But you only get one of these because it's only on one side. Now, is it on the side we're doing or the other side? Yeah.
No, so we'll have to jump around the other side to show you that one. But yeah. It just pushes into place and just...
Well, what tools are you going to need? Obviously, it's good to watch these videos and get everything ready before you start. So we've got
everything here.
We think we've got everything. We'll find out. We've got a wire brush because when we've got it all apart, we're going to clean the back plate. We're going to just give it a quick coat of paint. Nothing too serious, but just so it looks nicer as we put it together. A bit of copper grease on a couple of pads. Always need a hammer. Lever bar. We've got a couple of cable ties. You'll see we're going to cable tie up the caliper when we take it off.
Stressing the hose, the brake hose there.
We've got this impact driver. I'm a little bit worried about. There's a T50, Torx T50 little nut here, little bolt holding the brake disc / drum on. So I've got the little impact driver and the T50. Not everyone might have that in the toolbox, so make sure you get one of those before you start the job. Selection of screwdrivers. No, I don't reckon we're going to need too many sockets. What have we got here? You reckon?
We've got a 13 for the sliders, 15 for the caliper, a little extension. That's about it, really.
Right. So everything explained. Let's have a go and have a look how an office boy gets on doing some work. Right. Let's have a go. Right. What I want to start with now.
Caliper off.
What's that? We're going to leave the caliper on because it will give us. Will it help us get this? Yeah. Help us get this one off. In case
should make a difference because your handbrake should be on.
Handbrake should be on. I'll be happy. This is the thing. Right. So let's have a look. So that should be right. Give it a couple of taps.
Look, it was moving.
It did or didn't?
It did. Looked like it did.
have a go with the socket on it in a minute.
Pull that adapter off the end.
Yeah, he's going. But yeah, I think it's probably worth the. They're not expensive, those impact drivers.
So we've got this handy little 1/2 inch impact, and as you hit it, it twists it to shock it, and because you're hitting it, it makes sure the tool doesn't skip. Make sure it's fully engaged.
We put a bit of copper grease on that, and we put that back on.
We had some fun with the other side, getting the other side apart, didn't we?
So I'm going to leave that just in there for the minute. Right, then we're going to remove the slider bolt. So that's going to be our 13, sorry. Let's have a go with this.
Should be a 13, right?
Yep. So yeah, we haven't undone anything on this, so we'll see how we do.
It doesn't look like they've been apart for a while from the state of that disc.
And I'm not a trained mechanic, I'm an office boy really. Right, there we go, so let's have that out. Yeah, so this car, this Discovery 4 2010, has done 200,000 miles. So, and I think it's got the original handbrake shoes on it. Well, looks like it's got a bit of copper grease on it before. We haven't had it off, have we?
Not that I know of.
There we go. Oh.
Big screwdriver down there if you need it.
I'm strong enough here. Right then, there we go.
He's been to the gym,
So,
he's been working out.
I have been working out. Look, there's a load of dust in there. Look at that. You see all that in there? Oh, that ain't gonna. I don't suppose it's gonna do any harm. It ain't gonna do it any good either, is it? And everything else looking okay. We'll just give it a little check over. He looks alright. Right, let's strap him up. I reckon he'll go onto that exhaust, will he? Yeah. Going through.
You've got a couple of cable ties here just to hold it up out the way. Just stops you stressing that brake hose there. You got it or John Hand?
I got
it the wrong way round.
I got it the wrong way round. See? Alright then, see if we can get it. Just put it around that exhaust.
Yeah. It's just so the whole weight of the caliper isn't hanging off that rubber hose there.
And it's out my way. Right, then we'll undo the other
You
caliper.
can take your pads out now. That's the easiest thing, so they should just slide towards you. So if you can't see in through your caliper and you're not sure and you want to check the state of your brake pads, that's a pretty easy way to do it. Just undo 2 bolts and then you can see quite clearly how much life you got left. But you got a big old chunk missing off the end of that pad there.
And it's yeah.
It's pretty
What's
glazed
happened?
over.
Yeah, look at that. What's happened there? That can't be a design thing. And it's pretty grooved as well. It's got a lot of grooves in it.
I think when they get a bit overused.
Oh, hold on. What's going on here? I think this one is completely.
I think we found the source of our grinding noise there.
Oh! Look at that.
That's definitely the source of it.
Look at that. That's down to metal. Yeah. So there we. That's pretty fish.
Is that original? Or no?
Well, it's a Land Rover genuine part. But yeah, that's what it looks like when your brakes are really worn out.
So it's probably worth checking these.
Now, what concerns me, Ian, is why is that pad worn more than the other one? We'll have to check that the slider, because often your slider seizes because you only got a single piston.
It should be if you push on there.
Yeah. It should be pushing
that,
on.
That push on there, that rubber is...
This is all...
That will stay fixed because that's bolted to your hub.
Yeah.
Your caliper slides on that, so you should be able to move that where it bolts to. It should move like that.
Should move like that, but this one...
See how this bottom one slides in and out on that bellow, but that top one, nothing at all.
Nothing at all. So we'll need to sort that out. I mean, is it worth undoing those now? Well, it's still fixed. Otherwise, we're going to have to put it in the vice, aren't we? What do you reckon, Ian? You see where I'm going? Yeah.
Try and wind them out now. I don't know if they do they unwind or should you just be able to pull them out? You should be able to just pull them.
Pull them, but
so they're literally just a greased pin They've got a hex end on them, but I don't know if that hex end isn't to help you.
But presumably it should rotate. The hex end should
Yeah.
help me unseize it.
Should help you unseize it, but I think that hex end is if your caliper bolts are seized. It means you can hold that and undo the caliper bolt then.
Right. So, right, let me get the right size socket for that. Actually, do you want to go and get that in? It looks like that one's... I'm not getting that one on.
I think it's a 70. I think I had it out actually. By chance, we've been stripping all of the front and the back on this side. We've had a little bit of practice already, but not fully. That is well and truly seized, that one, isn't it? It doesn't even want to turn. He's going to be regretting saying he's going to do this in real time now.
Right, we'll leave that on for a minute. Gloss over that. But we're going to have to... It's tricky, isn't it? I'm in two minds. Right, let me loosen off these caliper bolts. I'm not going to take them off though. Right.
So these should be nice and tight, these caliper bolts, and you'll need a 12-sided socket for those, is that right?
Yeah.
So it's a 15mm 12-sided socket.
Right. So they're loose.
Your caliper bolts, you can use a standard 6-sided.
Right, I'm going to go and get a 70mm socket and some WD-40. Let me just grab that quick. The 70mm socket in the drawer.
Should be. So if your sliders aren't seized, just check that these are moving freely in and out. You can pull them out. Put a bit of grease on there, not copper grease. So you want some like CV grease or a silicone grease. Something that can take a bit of temperature as well would be good, because it is right on your brake caliper there. There you go. That's now moving a bit. Try and push it out.
Yeah, sort of pull it out, yeah.
You want to try and...
yeah.
If I push on there while you twist it, is that way?
Is that going in here?
I think it is slowly. Blimey, that's rusty.
Yeah. So we'll clean that up and get some grease on that. So it's probably worth doing that anyway, and taking those out.
This is what they should be like. They should just move by hand. That one you can feel is nice and greased. It's moving freely.
So if you've got uneven pad wear, that's probably...
If you're doing this, I'd be making sure they're moving freely anyway. Maybe get yourself a little sachet of CV boot grease or something.
Right. Now we're happy with that. Let's spin that.
Now we can carry on.
Caliper off. Right. I've lost my socket now. Right, we're going. I keep calling it caliper, but it's the slider. The carrier.
Caliper carrier. Sliders.
There you go. So that's the bolt. For that, show them the 12-sided head.
Yeah, that's why you need the 12-sided socket on that. 2 of them should be exactly the same. These are usually pretty stiff because they're usually Loctited a bit. I don't know if you can tell. Doesn't look like we've got any remaining on these, but...
Right, so then we can remove that. So we'll give that all a good clean up. And obviously, there you'll see that's where we're gonna clean up and get all that greased for those sliders. Right, good. So we're now finished undoing my
Should come out by hand now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah. Again, we'll grease that back up when we put that in, because you can see that started to
Is it
rust.
Loctited or not?
No.
No, it was just seasoning. There's no reason for that to be Loctited. It's
Now,
only
this
an
can be a
extra
bit
one.
of a pig to get off, but he lucks it out. But obviously, if you need to, you can knock it here, but you'll have to then rotate it, which means taking your handbrake off.
You might want to take your handbrake off anyway. Your handbrake should be
off. Yeah,
should be.
We haven't put the
gripping on
handbrake on. Yeah. So there we go. Inside, got a load of dust there.
There should be a slight lip to that. I won't worry too much.
About
If you've
that.
got a lip on the outside, that's not so good, but a lip on the inside's normal there. If we have a look at the new discs, there's no lip on this top edge, but there is a step down the bottom here. So a step on the inside there isn't such a big deal, but a step on the outside, you can feel how worn your
Good check to
drum
do
is.
when you're doing this is, I'm going to make all my new ones all dirty. Just check they are the same size discs. They did do a couple of different sizes, but yeah, we're all good to go. Right. Okay, so that's that. Right. Next thing we've got to do is get all this spring mechanism. Now it's worth taking a couple of pictures, or you can look at this video. Hopefully Ian will get it all, and looking at how the springs go and how the shoes go. So if you get
That's
that,
your main spring on the top
you've
there,
got this.
and you can see that bottom plate underneath. That's a good point to check, because on our other side that just fell out, so it curves around the inside there, so you can tell which way around that then it go.
And what
With
we got
that
down the bottom.
curve. And then we've got our adjuster down the bottom there with that little spring, and then these two clips here are what hold the shoes all in.
And now this is.
So this one is upside
It's upside down, yeah.
compared
The
to
other
one.
side's the other way up, yeah. Which is quite interesting,
So
actually.
if you're doing the right hand side first and you come to watch this, then don't be surprised that everything's upside down on this one. But it's all the same, it's just upside down, that's all.
Right, should we have a go at getting that little spring out first?
Right,
then?
if you take the adjuster out first, so if you
Oh, yeah, that's right.
spread the two pads apart, you shouldn't just go by hand. You're only fighting that small spring. No, you want to take the... What are we doing? No, take the
Clips.
pins out first, yeah.
Right.
So we want a hammer, we want a screwdriver, and
And
you
what-
want to be going back.
Yeah,
down
what Ian
towards
noticed
you.
was there's like a little dimple on this flat surface here. It's probably hard to see with all the... But if you get the... You get that screwdriver... Ooh,
Either there, or you can just go in by the pin where it lips
there's
down.
a little bit of a slope. Right, let me have a go at getting this out then.
I'll show you on this one.
There you go, that... Yeah.
So you want to knock it in towards the drum.
Because the spring, it sort of sprung a little bit. Yeah, so they're a little sort of... In fact, they're the same both ways. You can't get it on the wrong... but they're sort of sprung, and
Okay.
that's the little dimple there. So but we've got new ones of those
You
in
got
the
two
kit.
of them.
So let's have a go. So which way am I knocking that one
Knocking
down?
that one down as well. So on the other side, I think you have to knock them both up. But it just depends which way around you fit them, to be honest.
Is he going?
Yeah, he's going.
Come on. Is it going to go?
No,
need a
that
bit
needs
more.
a knock again, I think.
Oh, I don't know. We've got something come loose there. There we go. There, that's it. Right. So again, they're both the same.
So now
Right.
you want to spread those. Spread the bottom of them apart, and you can just drop that whole adjuster out.
You say
wound in?
He's wound in, but he's also not having much. He's sort of
There you
seized.
go. That's it.
Yeah,
That's it. Pull it.
that's it.
There you go.
Right, and he
that'll come
he
out
was
first.
pointing that way. I don't think it matters necessarily which way it points, but obviously as you spin this middle bit here, it pushes out or pulls in. So make sure that's all
So
greased
that's
up.
how to readjust the width of the shoes. You can spread that. So this width at the top's fairly fixed, and then at the bottom you can spread it apart to make them
So
grip.
it's probably worth spinning that all the way out, cleaning that thread up, put a bit of grease on it.
Make sure that thread turns easily.
Turns nice and easy. It's nothing that complicated. That's just the cap that sits on the top. So that's quite easy to. We'll give that a clean up. Right. Okay.
Then you got a little spring at the bottom there, which should now be easy to get out because you can push the pads
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
So this little spring is all just fighting. So that's what you've got to spread apart. You're just fighting that spring to spread the pads apart.
But we've got a new spring coming. He's looking a little bit ropey. Right. So now the bottom's all free completely. What do you reckon next, Tim?
Now just pull that lot off.
Right.
That's what we did on the other side.
Side here.
Just kind of unwrap it around. There you go, and it'll all spring apart and fall to bits.
But what you're left with, so they go
we've got this plate that sits that way round. You can see the bend to it. It's designed to go around the hub, and it's got that spring on the one end, which is to help, I think, push those pads apart a bit.
Yeah, good. We've got that, and that end's a pointy end is pointing that way on this one. Obviously, it'll be the other way up on the other side. Right, so we've got that. Right, and then just have a look, because that's quite a good view there, where you can see you've got the arm coming off. So when we put it back on, make sure you've got the shoe with the arm. It's behind it coming down there. Right.
So if you unhook that,
they are gammied up completely. Right.
Whichever end will come off.
Whichever end. Oh, have you got to rotate
twist
it?
and a pull and a push.
That slot's a bit of a funny. Yeah, you ain't going to get those out in a hurry, because it's sort of the slot. It's slotted a bit of a. What? Yeah. They are a little bit of a.
But now you can see that this arm here, which is part of this shoe. So sometimes these wheels seize up. Those arms.
This
arm here, which is on this pivot. But this is only so that you've got more access to get to the end of your handbrake cable.
Right. Now on the end of the handbrake cable there is a tricky little bit, isn't there, Ian?
Yes, if you take the spring off first, I found, release that spring.
Where's that spring going?
It just hooks up into it, so it's going to go down towards your left hand.
Okay, so that's released that spring, so everyone have a little look-see.
That literally just hooks in.
And then there's a little bit here. Now he rotates, that's it. It's this little.
It's like a little cat flap. Yeah. It might be easier to show on the other one.
Let me have a look if we can.
And that one being seized, should I find a new shoe?
Yeah, you find a new shoe and show them. Oh no, I've got it. It's there. But show it on a new shoe anyway.
So on a new shoe. This is our arm that opens out, and you got this little flap. So the cable comes through from the other end, hooks into here, and it just pulls that flap shut, and that means that you can't then get the cable out. So you've got to open that up and then wiggle your cable back.
Right, so I've opened that, and then I've got.
But it doesn't open very much, does it?
No.
You think it's going to open more, but it doesn't really.
You've got to then.
It opens just enough.
There you go. He's just about going to let him in. You see, I've got to angle it a bit there. Look.
And it wants to try and shut the little flap on itself. You got to try and hold that open, and I think just give it a wiggle and a pull.
Oh yeah, I think it might have caught on that edge. There you go. Yeah. So there it is. Ian showed you, but it just opens enough just to get that little slug. It's that little slug that's on that end of that cable, just to wiggle him through. So that's us.
So we don't think we've got an issue with our handbrake cables. We think they're all alright, don't we?
We think, yeah, everything's good.
Our mystery noise from our other video, if you've seen that already, seems like it was going to be that brake pad making all the noise. And that's the trouble if you've only got one sensor.
Yes.
Because if we'd had the wear sensor on this side, it would have told us. Well, it
still might not have gone if it was on the other pad. It depends which pad they put it on. In theory, you'd need 4 to check all 4 was good. Right. We are going to clean this up. You don't need to watch us clean it up.
So the last bit is just these pins that we took those little spring clips off. They just push out to the back.
They push out to the back, right? Okay,
yeah. They're just very loosely held in there.
Yeah, look, that looks like some Roman relic, doesn't it?
And, your garden find.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark, it might not be as old as you think. It might just be a Land Rover part.
You have to look on Facebook if you want to see what he's talking about. Right then. Right, there we go. So we're going to clean that up. What's that little clip there, Ian? Do we need to take that off? No.
That's just the block for spacing it out.
Right. We're going to stop the video here and we're going to clean it and spray it with some paint. But we will come back and do the rebuild. Should we do the rebuild as well? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put it all back together. But that's about 20 minutes I think so far to strip it all down. I mean,
And we've had some problems.
You'll probably be quicker than us, and
So
yeah, it's not the simplest.
We've had the problem with that.
It's not been plain sailing for us. So yeah, it should be about 20 minutes to get it down. Probably about a similar time to get it all back together, and then we've got to adjust it and stuff as well.
And if you do the job yourself, I mean, garages do a great job. I don't want to talk garages out of work, but if you do it yourself, you can clean it all up. Where a garage would now just throw it all back on. Where when you're doing it on your own car, you just take a bit more time, get everything looking nice. So when you come to it again, it's all good. Right, so we've cleaned everything up. So we've just given a quick spray. It's not a brilliant job, but it just means it's clearer to put back together. Ian's put some copper grease on these points here where the shoes rest against, which is good. We've cleaned the other bits and pieces. We put some silver wheel paint on the caliper and the other bits, just so that it's nicer and clearer for the video as well to put back together. Some bits we've had to reuse, the springs we've had to reuse. Disappointingly, the pins we've had to reuse. That kit that came with the springs and the clips, they don't give you any pins. So our Roman relic pins are going to be reused again. I don't think it's a problem, but it'd be nice to put some new ones on. Right, so let's try and remember out right. So we've got the shoes. So you want them to get them as a pair. So you've got the two little rat bites at the bottom here where my little finger is, and then you've got the down there, and then at the top. So you should have a matching pair. And the
mechanism stuff behind on it.
It's behind, yeah, all the silver parts behind. Right. So let's have a go at getting that little. So I think it's going to be a lot easier to put in than it. Let's have a go.
So you can flex that right out. You can open that.
Yeah. That arm
up.
There he's through. Put that pin in, and then get that spring.
That rounds the back. Around the back. No.
Nope.
You got to go all the way around the back.
Oh, all the way around. Oh, all the way over the pin and around the back of him, yeah?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Come up towards. I think we go. Do we go all the way around it? Yeah. Stretch it in there.
Oh, nearly had him.
There should be a little ridge that it sits on in there.
There's something there, hang on.
Or do you need to be round the other side of?
No, that looks alright.
You need to be round here. You need to be right round this side of it. I believe.
Hold on it. I'll get my pliers.
Because that spring can just spin all the way around. So put it.
He doesn't look too badly seated there. He's only holding that on, isn't he? He sits in that groove. I think that's it, Ian.
Yeah.
Yeah. I reckon that'll keep that cap flap from coming open and keeps all that in and secure. That seems right to me. Right. Someone will tell me in the comments if we got it wrong. Right. Right, there we go. So that's that. That's that. Right. Now the second one is going to go like that. Now that's when we had that big spring at the top that was tricky, wasn't it? So let's get him in. Now he can go two ways. So he's behind like that. And we want that arching upwards, I reckon.
Should be in front, shouldn't it?
Hold on. Should be in front. Sorry. So I want it. Doesn't make a lot of difference, does it? It's a very shiny spring. Right, let's see if he goes. That's in one of those.
This bit might be a little tricky.
Oh, he's catching on everything. Right,
but you can do this away from that backing plate. You don't need to be in place yet.
That second spring has got a. There's definitely an art to getting those springs in and out, isn't there?
Is that it?
Oh, there is. It's fighting with that other. That's it.
Okay.
Right. Now.
And then this one goes in, and I think it should go in that groove right down the bottom there.
Yeah.
So do you want to tuck that one? Has that one got to tuck into place
yeah,
first?
tuck into place first. Yeah, you got it.
Lift that
up. Right, and then we got to pull this out here. Hold on. He's in place there, and we got to get that all the way over there. I think I'll go over the top.
Is that going to stretch?
It's nearly there.
that gonna help?
There's what got a lever on to get that middle bit on. He's close, he's really close. I might go for the big pliers. And
There might be an art to it.
an art I haven't got. Because I'm on that top one, which is good.
Just getting that pad back.
Yeah, it's getting the pad back, or the... I'm going to go for getting the silver bit forward. There you go.
There you go.
Got the silver bit forward.
Did it go up a little bit? Is that, yeah, that's all gone in.
Looks like it's all gone in, doesn't it?
I think that's all good, yeah.
I think that's all fine.
Yeah, seems alright.
It's nearly
It kind of wants
back.
to distort itself out of place a bit
Yeah, because that spring
because of the spring, but once we get the pins and everything in, that should hold it better.
Yeah.
It looks correct.
It doesn't look too bad, does it?
So now we've got a small spring in the bottom.
I'm just wondering if that spring should be at the front here, whether that's fouling on. But I don't think so. I think it's just, no, I think it's the pins. Right, should we get the pins in now, or you reckon get the...
I'm going to get this mechanism back in. There, mate. You want to adjust that?
Yeah, that's fully
wound
wound in. Line those two up so they're straight.
So you want to get you want the spring in first.
First, yeah.
And then you got to, so we're just doing reverse of what we did earlier.
Spring.
So now you're fighting spring against spring, are you?
Yeah. I might need the hook tool to hook in. But yeah, I need some of those super snap-on, super grippy.
Just nearly there.
Ah!
Nearly.
There we go.
Get some needle nose mole grips.
Yeah.
Some of the grips well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that hook, we have got a little hook tool, haven't we? That might be better. Alright, one more go and then we'll do it off camera. Cause
Me one more go and then you'll make me do it.
yeah. Right. It's on, but no. Right,
No,
we'll get it off
no.
camera. Right, we've got Ian on it now. I'm on the camera. Right, so we've got that spring on. Ian's just trying to put that adjuster in. So we just got to spring those apart. But it is quite fiddly getting all these bits back in.
Not sure where I can lever on.
But it should only be levering against that weaker spring, so it shouldn't be too bad. Let's see if I can lever this one a bit. Okay.
The mechanism is tucked. Yeah, a little bit more. Ah, that back spring's getting right in the way. Just that one it goes into.
Right, we'll just get that in, and the next thing we've got to do is get those two pins in. We think we've got that in there. Okay, we've got the pin through the back plate, and then we've got to get that clip in there. Now, how hard a job is that going to be? What can I do as well?
Oh, no, that's
No.
falling everywhere. They don't make this easy, do they?
No. Alright. Oh, he's clipped round there now.
He's hooked on that bit.
Alright, we'll get that out. Might have another go. Alright, here goes. Try two. I'll hold the back pin. And you've got to push the shoe back and the clip.
It's compressing this.
It's over that and shoving it up, isn't it? You need like a fork, don't you? Because you press on the two sides, but oh, that's not looking bad. Oh, well done. That's it.
Go.
So that's how you get the clip on of sorts. We'll get the other clip on. Okay, we've got it all together. It's a bit of a fiddle, and I'm going to say that's a two-person job. And then what we just thought,
to make your life easier. It's
Yeah.
not worth it on your own, I don't think.
it's worth buying your mate a beer. Right, on the disc, you've got one countersunk hole there, and then opposite that, you've got this
That's
one.
the wheel. So you got your
Oh,
5
sorry,
wheel
nut.
hole.
Yeah, goodness me.
And then you've got one countersunk, which is an odd hole, and you've got one
On
over
that-
here, which we believe is for putting a screwdriver through and for adjusting that tensioner.
But what we noticed was on the old brake discs, there's a little rubber plasticky bung that goes in there. So rub that off your old brake disc and put that in there. So we should now be able to mount the. So we're going to now mount the drum / disc, fit the Torx bolt so that it's all, and then we're going to have a go at adjusting by spinning that little coggy wheelie thing under there. We're going to spin that little coggy wheelie thing there until it gets nice and tight. But Ian's just cleaning the disc there with a bit of brake cleaner to get any grease. Because obviously when they make them, they don't want them to rust, so they put a bit of grease on them to stop them rusting. So get that all cleaned off.
So we can do the front face once it's on.
On,
It's just
yeah, yeah.
that drum face.
Right, you're right there getting that on it.
Yeah, just try not to touch that back edge. And we need to line up that Torx, don't we?
Yeah, line up that.
Which is,
'Cause obviously the wheel nuts will line up in 5 positions, but
I'm going to put my thumb in the torque hole. That way I know it's lining up. We can see that thread there.
and then we've put a bit of copper grease on the countersunk Torx one for you there. There's your socket. Do you need a smaller ratchet for that?
Yeah, grab that.
So by getting that, that's holding the drum in place there. So now he's taking the little rubber thing out, and you've got to find that little adjuster. And what you should do is spin it up. When I used to adjust brakes, you spin it until it locks, because that means you've got it concentric. You've got the left and the right shoe both pushed out. And then back it off a bit. So whack.
We're going to need a torch for this, try and find it.
There you go. So we're going to have a little torch. Right, so by pushing it down, so by putting it in and then we're feeding it down.
Leave it against the top of the hole there.
That, right, so by pushing the cog, the nearest bit of the cog down, you tighten it up. So Ian's got it tight now, and he's just going to back it off a couple, just so it will spin freely.
See, even when you're lined up with it, it's tricky to find and make sure you're on the right bit.
It doesn't, I don't think it's so critical, because normally when you're adjusting a handbrake, it affects your brake travel, but it doesn't on this because it's totally independent of your foot brake system. There we go. I'm happy with that.
I can see
Right.
it's just binding a little bit.
Yeah, caliper on now. No, the slide. So with it, there's our rebuilt, and just demo your new greased up. They're all, the slided pins are all nice and good. So we can get that on now. So you need those two big. You need your two big 12-sided. There's the other one of those. I'm going to say that was the 15, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry for the dodgy camera, I was fitting the socket on for him. Oh, it's starting to look nice now.
So we'll have to find the torque specs for these and make sure they're all torqued
Torqued up correctly, but let's get it assembled first. Right, and then do we want to put the pads into the springs and the pads into the? Can't remember, but they fitted in nice and snug when you get them right way.
Go there. They go right over that bit.
They clipped in. They had to ping them out. So we've got the little springs in. We actually had to. It's going to be easier to fit those little springs before you put the slider on. We had to take the slider off again. Now we're getting the pads in. Now all the pads are the same, aren't they, Ian? All four are the same.
Alright, get right in the way if you had to see what I'm doing.
Yeah, can't see a lot.
But we just squish those in till they touch the disc.
Right, now the next problem we're going to have is we're going to have to get on the caliper now. Where the pads are wider now, where we've got more meat on these, the distance here is further apart. It's got fatter this way, so our piston we're going to have to wind back. Now you can buy a special wind back tool that pushes against the edge of the here and pushes against the piston, but we're going to try and do it with a G-clamp. So let's see if we can do that. I can hold that. Does that help you? No.
I think that round's going to be easier.
Do we need a? Well, you can put an old pad in there if we need to.
It's just twisting it so I can actually get the lever on to spin.
I don't know how tight it's going to be. Is that moving any? Now, you might have to be a little bit careful because it can disperse brake fluid up at your master cylinder. But I think we'll be alright, we haven't got too far to go. Oh, Ian's arm there.
It's pretty tight.
It's pretty tight, but is it going in? So again, you might have look for a piston wind back tool if you're going to do this yourself. It'll probably save you a bit of messing around. I have actually made a piston wind back tool before now by drilling through a brake pad, getting one of the old brake pads, drilling a hole and welding a nut on it, and then putting a bolt through. We may have to do that.
It's just a little bit tight now, so I'll go check the master cylinder and make sure we're not overfilling that.
Okay, so the G-clamp did work quite well actually. That's pushed that piston right back flush. If you look at the side there, it's all flush, and then we can slip that.
Just make sure our slider pins are pushed back in, not fouling us.
There's no need. No need to bleed the brakes. We haven't.
And then this is why we need the hex on there, because where our slider pins are nice and greased now, you try and do the bolts up and they just spin.
Yeah.
The pins just spin.
So
which is why you've got a hex on there.
You may have that problem. What size spanner are you going to need for that?
I think it's that 17.
Yeah. That's what we were using it for, yeah.
There should be, yeah. 17 on there and then the 13 socket.
So once we've done that, that's pretty much it, isn't it? We're all pretty much good then. We'll tighten that up, we'll torque those rear caliper bolts up and put the wheel back on, and we're all good. Nothing else we missed, Ian? No, obviously the other side you've got to do that pad sensor, the wear pad sensor. I think that's fairly straightforward. It just inserts into the pad and you've got to follow the line back to where it goes on the connector. Any problems, we'll do another video for that if anyone can't.
We'll get the other side to this stage and we might just catch back up when we're at the other side.
Yeah.
At this point.
Good idea, yeah. So we've got everything back together, we've tightened up those bolts, that's the one side all done now. And the other side, the only difference was that wear pad sensor. Ian did that, but he said it was you just followed it up.
Yeah, it's simple enough. So it hooks into the pad here, literally just pushes in.
Dark. There you go. Yeah.
Pushes into the pad. It clips on itself. Goes on the bleed nipple there, and then it follows up with a series of these little bits, and they literally just pull out and just push in.
And then it follows up.
It goes up round to a connector at the top here. Little push on the top.
Push on the top.
Unclip it. Clip it back in.
So we've got the new wear. We've got that side done there. Look, that's all good. So we're going to put the wheels on, and that's the job done. We will try and put a kit together and put it for sale on the website, and we're going to try and include, we've had a look, we're going to try and include the little countersunk bolt, the little dust cap, because they seem to get lost and damaged. We're going to include some new slider bolts, because we cleaned ours up, but actually they're only a few pounds for the slider bolts, and with new rubber seals there, the little rubber bellows. So we're going to put a kit together, and the new springs and new pins. Hopefully everything that we think you need that's worn or damaged, we'll put a kit together, and you can watch the video and do everything as per this video. Or you're welcome to buy it all. It's all available. But I hope that helped you guys. Do it at home yourself. Do a nice job. Paint it up. Good luck.